You're watching Maryland Politics here on TV Free Baltimore.
In the past 2 years, federal, state, and local governments became more authoritarian than ever before in my lifetime. Almost every aspect of our lives became affected by mandates and dictates unimagined just prior to the pandemic reaching our shores. Governments at every level conspired to shut down large portions of our economy, shut down in-person learning, and in some cases, dictated an injection of vaccine into our bodies. These mandates and dictates usually flowed from the executive orders of a president, a governor, or a county executive or mayor. Now, protesters from the four corners of the world are demanding their freedom back, arguing the individual should decide on how to deal with our current situation as opposed to the executives in our governments. For you, the viewer, the question becomes simple. Do you believe in freedom? Do you believe in the supremacy of the individual over the collective? Would you vote for freedom if you had a chance? Or you're going to have a chance in Maryland's next gubernatorial race. David Lashar is in our studio tonight, and he's running for Maryland governor as a Libertarian. Let's take a look at his campaign ad.
1, 2, 3, 4! Yeah. Hey. All right.
David, welcome to the studios of TV Free Baltimore.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, as I said in my opening statements, governments have never been more authoritarian than today. Is this increasing the number of people that are registering Libertarian in Maryland?
Well, Charles, literally registering? Not yet. But is it making more people eager to hear from alternative voices than what they get from the D's and the R's and the big media? Absolutely. And is it making a lot of people who have long been libertarian in their mindsets begin to think about voting Libertarian on November 8th? Definitely.
David, if elected, what would be the first three things you would do in office?
I think the first thing, Charles, mandates. If there were any lingering mandates related to the COVID crisis, they would have to be lifted immediately. But there probably won't be any such lingering mandates. So what we need to do, as I mentioned earlier, is make sure that the executive overreach in the name of the health crisis that occurred throughout Maryland and the globe doesn't happen, at least here in Maryland, again. We need to restrain executive powers to declare health emergencies. We need to make any such declarations time limited. We need to make them subject to passage within the legislature, and we need to put them to judicial review as well. So that would be one. Number two, democracy. We hear a lot, especially from the Democratic Party, about how they are going to save democracy. But what they are not actually interested in is a vigorous, competitive politics that gives multiple choices, more than two choices, to voters when they go into the booth every couple of Novembers. So what would I do? We talked about it. We need to end gerrymandering either through legislative bills or, more likely, because the legislature is not going to pass such a bill, through constitutional amendment. And we also need to take action to put in place term limits on all branches of government, again, as I mentioned earlier. Third, justice. On my first day in office, I would put in place the Citizens Commission to perform review of all nonviolent inmates in state correctional facilities, to review for potential gubernatorial pardon and release back into the community with supports and services, and integration back into the community under a probation period as well.
How would a Libertarian administration handle the unemployment that was a result of the economy being shut down.
The pay to stay at home, pay to not engage in work, it is not the fault of anybody taking that money to make the decision to stay at home and get paid to do so instead of going out to work. So by the time we get to the summer of 2020, again, we should have been returning to normal. We should have been encouraging people to get back to work. We could have, of course, made exceptions for people who were vulnerable, but the payments and the payouts lasted too long. The protections against paying rent lasted too long. People need to be treated like adults. And when you are paying a person to stay at home, you are not treating them respectfully like adult. Go back to work, earn your pay your rent, and be a good contributing citizen. We should have been in that mode by the fall of 2020.
Would a Libertarian administration accept and go along with the moratorium on evictions for landlords?
Now, the policies themselves that you're referring to, they were both misconceived and misimplemented. The idea that only renters, those paying for the roofs over their heads, needed aid was what was misbegotten. Because the people who own small buildings, they rent to one or two people, standalone buildings. Owners of larger apartment complexes, they have to continue paying their bills. And if you shut down the rent that they're collecting, you're forcing all of the economic pain and cost for this measure on a group that didn't do anything to bring about the social situation. So the aid should have taken in, at a minimum, consideration of the impact, not just on renters, but those who are landlords and lease out properties. These are also, we should bear in mind that a very large proportion of landlords are small business people. So what we were doing is forcing small business people to bear the economic brunt of some aspects of the response to COVID. So misbegotten and misimplemented in the sense that it has gone on for far too long.
Another big problem that Maryland has is Baltimore City. It's just a complete mess right now, and one could argue, and I will make the argument, that it's the lack of competitiveness between political parties in the city that's a big part of the problem with the city. As governor, what would you do to work with the city in order to slow down and reverse the violent crime in the city?
When we look at Baltimore City and we look at the violence on the streets and the surge in crime, what we need to do is take measures to bring back, roll back, end the war on drugs. There is nothing else that we can do that would so reliably, so surely bring an end to the violence on the streets, because the violence is coming from the fact that the gangsters and the traffickers in the drug trade they own the street, they are sovereign in the street, and the nature of their business is violence. That's what we're seeing. So no other measure will do as much. No other measure can perhaps do much of anything to reduce crime in Baltimore except meaningful steps to end the war on drugs, by which I mean going beyond legalizing cannabis for recreational purposes. I mean going the steps beyond that to legalize narcotics, addictive drugs, and making them available through certified licensed dispensaries, just like we do for medical cannabis today, except with the additional provision that because of the nature of these addictive substances, we would need for the sake of humanity, we would need to make available at the point of distribution the supports and services for substance use disorders, behavioral health services. We would make them available in these dispensaries so that people who have the demons within them, whatever they may be, that have brought them into addiction, they can get some help.
Let's talk about education. Explain to the viewers your idea of school choice.
It's astonishing to me that anybody would not be for school choice. But why is that? The the model of school choice, as opposed to what we de facto have, which is a model of public sector monopoly for the provision of educational services, the model of school choice, it's better for students because they end up getting better education. It is better, this doesn't get talked about enough, it is better for teachers too, because they end up with better careers and pay. For example, young teachers today, what's their option in general? Their option is to become a substitute teacher and to be subject to seniority rules within the teachers' unions. I don't know about you, Charles, or anybody that is in our audience here, but for me as a young teacher, burning with passion about the teaching profession and the teaching education mission, the current model would be unbearable for me. I would want to be able to start my own classroom. I would want to be able to combine with some of my peers, younger, my age and older if I was early in my career, and start my own school. We need to make it so that young teachers can become not just educators, but they can become entrepreneurs as well. We can do that by turning the physical infrastructure for the school system into incubators, right? Just like in the private sector we do. So how do I know that education for the students will be better under a choice model? How do I know that careers and pay for any teacher who is good at being a teacher will be better under a choice model? It's because we already have the proof. And we have the proof within private schools and higher education, right? Our colleges and universities. Where is education best in the United States of America, Maryland, and the other states? It is best where there is choice.
In the past few years, taxes have been raised on the federal, state, and local level. Tell me the Libertarian position as far as taxes go.
Well, let's do two things here, Charles. The Libertarian position and what realistically I could do as governor, a Libertarian governor of the state of Maryland. Right. So, in general, the answer for what do Libertarians believe about taxes, the fewer and the lower, the better is the sentiment. But let's talk about realities and specific ideas for me as governor of Maryland. The reality is that the Democrats, they will continue to hold supermajorities in the assembly. That means that we need to find ways to reduce taxes wheresoever we can. I think there are at least two, maybe three areas that we can do so. First of all, income tax on retirees. Let's abolish them completely. And I am speaking not even means tested. Lower and middle income retirees, they simply need the relief, the economic relief. This is a high cost state. These individuals are retired. Let's not make them let's not make them suffer. But also, wealthier families of means. I suggest that we need to eliminate their income taxes as well upon retirement. And the reason is those income taxes are going to the state of Florida and states like it to a far greater degree than they need to. We need to, because what happens is individuals and families of means, they change their residence to Florida or another low-tax state, and we lose those potential tax revenues. And these individuals, it's not necessarily like they wanted to move to Florida. It's that they felt economically it would be foolish to do otherwise. So abolish the income tax for all retirees. Second, for middle income folks, lower income folks that might not even, I don't think that most people comprehend how few people who, even in the middle class, pay income taxes. Our taxation system is nicely progressive here in the United States and the state of Maryland. But what can we do on the tax side for regular working folk? What we can do is give relief on what the economists call excise taxes. That's the sales tax. That's the gas tax. These are the taxes that are applied whenever you buy something that you need in your daily life. Let's roll them back as far as we can.
If people wanted to support your candidacy, how could they reach you and help support you?
For those who want to learn more and want to help others learn about my candidacy, but libertarianism, please do visit the website, so davidlashar.com. The website is not your standard political website. It's a website that has been written by me myself, not my aides, not my pollsters, but by me myself, to explain where I'm coming from, what I believe, what my expression of libertarianism is. And so people should come out and check it out. Of course, we have a Facebook page. There are not a lot of candidates that have a YouTube channel. We do. All can be reached from our website. And the YouTube channel attempts to be engaging and educational, not classically political as well. So those are the ways that people can engage, learn more. Please do reach out to me and my running mate, Christiana Logan Smith. Small gatherings, large gatherings. We're interested in conversations like this one tonight. Conversations about where we are, where we can go, that's a better place, and how to get there. Reach out to us, engage us. We look forward to it. We've got several more months to go before Election Day comes. And thank you for the opportunity here tonight, Charles.
You're watching Maryland Politics here on TV Free Baltimore.